What's up, YouTube? It's Jay Nabe here. This is the Careers of Your Peers, episode number 3. I flew out to Tampa to be with a special guest right here, Knowledge.
What up, what up, what up?
So, as you know, this podcast is all about inspiring the youth and trying to help them understand potential careers they may be interested in. Knowledge is known in the music world for doing dance hall. That's like his big thing. I listen to his live music, but I also think his rap is super underrated. I listened to a CD the other day. Really dope stuff. So yeah, can you tell us like how you got your first start in the music industry?
Word, yeah, for sure. First off, I appreciate you and everything you're trying to do to help, these younger artists because there is really not a lot of guidance in what to do or how to do things. But yeah, no, I started off music like most people. I got a karaoke or found a microphone or some kind of program, and you kind of just play around with it a little bit, and one thing leads to another, and then you get told, "Hey, what are you gonna do with your life?" And I kind of started taking it a little more serious, and just really started paying attention to the opportunities and the chances to make money and what people liked and what people hated. My dad always taught me pay attention to details, so I was over analyzing details in comparison to my peers. And I realized that a lot of that is actually the reason why a lot of my music took off, because I was looking at little details that no one else was looking at, and it actually helped in the long scheme of things. But that's pretty much how I got started, yeah.
Can you give an example of some of these like details you were looking at that other artists were overlooking?
Well, yeah, so when I first started, I was doing a lot of battle rapping, and that was one of the areas where the little details mattered. It's like I don't even think I was a good battle rapper. I was just looking at details, like I was battling this one kid and his girlfriend had a gap, so I said, "Give me space like your girl's front teeth." And it's such a cheesy line, but everybody looked at me and then looked at her because she was smiling, and then it was like, oh, so it's like that wasn't even like, to me, I'm like, this isn't even a crazy line. It's just a basic detail, and I just made it rhyme. So it started with that, but then as my career evolved and I started making songs, I still made a connection with the details there when I would mention like streets that we hung out on, or friend Dyson's near Swan Street. Like I was talking about real things and real places that we went to. So what would happen is, like if I mentioned Lou's Barbershop, anytime someone passed Lou's Barbershop, they'd be like, "Yo, play that Knowledge song where he says Lou's Barbershop." It was those little details that I'm like, "Yo, okay, that's what y'all want. Y'all want stuff that we see every day. I'll tell you what I see every day." And a lot of artists do that these days. People just overlook it. Like Drake does it a lot. 2.5 for the Rafael Nadal. It's like people don't even understand that line, but he's talking about a watch. It's a watch that he wears and he has, and you see it in several pictures. If you know, then you know, and that's intriguing to you. And I think Jason Tatum bought the same watch. So if Jason Tatum hears that line, he'll be like, oh, he's snapping right now because it's relatable. So that's where the details came into play. It also helped with marketing a lot because I didn't really have to spend money marketing because I was writing music about, well, I was pretty much trying to make an anthem for a child's life. When I was a kid, I was like, all right, what type of song does this kid need to be happy? And that's what it came down to in terms of details.
So it's just finding ways to be able to relate to people who listen to your music, even though some other people won't relate, but it helps to like connect with them on a deeper level.
Yeah, it's about being relatable. Also, it's trying to be relatable, but at the same time, you can't be relatable to everybody. There's so many. Sometimes people try to satisfy everybody, and you can't satisfy everybody. You have the older people, you have the younger people, you have the elderly people. You have, it's think about it. You got preschool, kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, high school. There's so many people to satisfy. So I just found an age group or 4-year range, and I'm like, you know what? that's gonna be my target audience. And it's cool because I actually watched it in my analytics, which is another thing. A lot of people don't pay attention to analytics. In my analytics, I watched it go from, because back in the days you can see like extensive analytics, but now they're starting to take out, like the 12-year-olds and stuff. But when we were younger, I can see that my analytics were like 12 through 18, 12 through 16. And then as they got older, it turned into 14 to 18. And then 18 to 22. And, 22 to 26. So it's cool. You can see like your fan base growing. And analytics, that's another thing. They're very important.
So like talking about analytics, I know this is like a big trap like beginner artists fall into, is like the stuff about like fake streams and those services that are like, oh, get on this playlist and we'll get you X amount of streams. Can you explain why like these companies aren't really worth like putting your money into?
Yeah, luckily for me, I was blessed to have there was this local artist named Ed Rock. He was a friend of my sister's, and when I met him, he told me one time, because he knew I was trying to rap and do music, and he told me one time, "Hey, your best friend is a producer and an engineer and a DJ." And I was like, okay. It kind of like, I didn't get it at the time, but I remembered what he said. So from there on, I made sure that all these producers were my friends, all these engineers were my friends. And at the time, I didn't realize, but I built an organic fan base of people that were promoting me to real people, and it created this realm of, it took time though. It took a long time. It's not like it happened overnight, but it created organic numbers. And I struggle in trying to explain to people like most of these companies these days, they're just out here trying to make money, and they're making it. You'll pay them $100, $50, $20, and you'll get 100 streams, 200, 300, 400, 500, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. But they'll be like farms. And the only reason why I know about it is because I was a part of a company one time that, I worked for a company that this is what they did, and they got people streams, but they're farms. And by farm, I mean it's like a bunch of phones in some kind of room or some kind of place where you'll be like, hey, here's $100, give me 20,000 streams. All they're doing is hitting a button on a computer, and every one of those phones, it's playing your song from somewhere in some random ping. So it could be pinged in Seattle. You'll get X amount of plays in Seattle, and X amount of plays in Boston, X amount of plays in some other country. And now that's not organic. So what starts happening is your analytics look all screwed up. So when you go to your analytics, you think you need to go to this place. In reality, no one knows you there. But for you, it's satisfying and it looks good, because some people are like, hey, look, you got some plays over here. That's kind of cool. And that's usually what keeps people sucked in. But then you got to keep that lie up. So if it costs you $100, you now have to spend $100 every time to keep that lie going. And it's not even a real growth. So what starts happening is, because you want it to seem like it's growing, that 100 turns into 200. And that 200 turns into 300, just because you're trying to grow it, but there's nothing organic about it. So I don't know. I just tell people to stay away from most companies. And typically the real companies that do playlisting and stuff, if they're not talking about at least $5,000 a month, they're probably fake. It's not even worth it, because if you ask like the people that really do this stuff, and even $5,000 isn't nothing. You should be looking at $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 monthly retainer to be put on playlists and stuff like that. Those are the real companies, the ones that really, that's what it costs. But if you're paying $20, for chances are it's not like a legit thing.
So for like artists like that are trying to like make it further in music, instead of investing in like these fake streams and these playlists that are like mostly bots, what do you suggest they use the money for?
That's a good question. It's a tough question to answer, because everybody's different. So, like some people, for example, okay, the first thing I say is if you don't record yourself, you need to invest time and money in recording yourself. You need to get some kind of mic, some kind of setup. It can even be a dynamic one. One of these mics, they're dynamics. They're not really for recording music, but still, having this mic and recording your own music, you're now learning. You're getting your 10,000 hours in faster. You're now learning how to do what you do faster. The faster you can record yourself, the better you become because now you have access to your own growth. That's like having a basketball hoop in your house or only being able to practice basketball when you go to school. You know, if you have a hoop in your house, you start trying things because you have all the time to do it. So it's the same concept. But if you're someone who already has that set up and you're like, okay, I already recorded myself. Well, what can I do with my money? Um, okay. So I like Instagram ads because they're cut and dry. It's like you're really targeting people that are around you. I had this one kid run an ad. I used to run ads for people. I had this one kid. He gave me $50. We ran a $50 ad, and he was fairly young. I think he might have been 15 years old. He had saved up his money. And he's like, yeah, I want to run an ad in my school. I'm like, okay, cool. So I circled his school with a half-mile radius, and we ran the ad. And that very same day, one of his friends hit him up like, yo, I seen your song on not Snapchat. He sent him a Snapchat saying, yo, I seen your song as a sponsored ad. This is dope. Now, it's like, that's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. It's like that made that kid so excited because he didn't understand that he was running an ad to put it there. He thought it was just there because, he was lit or something. But I feel like those little things are more organic than the other things, but they move slower. That $50, it might only get you that one person and 10 followers and, 1,000 impressions of people just scrolling past you, but they're organic. Those 10 people turn into 20, 30, 40, 50. They're organic versus the 50 people that get you 5,000, but they're robots. The $50 that'll get you 5,000 robots. I don't want 5,000 robots because I'm gonna have to always pay $50 for those 5,000 robots. Whereas those 10 people that are organic are gonna pay me organically whenever they like something that I have. So that's one thing. Your wardrobe. I don't know. Some people are into fashion, so buying something that makes you look more presentable, a hat, sneakers, clothes, Apple watch. Some people are into wardrobes. That's another thing that's underestimated in the music world that can actually help you have an image. Here's a big one: invest in a professional photo shoot. I like to tell rappers and singers when I look up their profiles online, I'm like, can you explain to me how a 99-cent chicken nugget got a professional photo shoot and you don't? So you're not a professional artist. So if you're spending money on these fake streams and I look up your profile and you don't have a professional photo of you, how can I take you serious? And you're not taking yourself serious. That's a big one that I always used to tell people, yo, get a professional photo. Just one. All you need is one, and you can use that picture forever. Take it from me. I'm still using a picture that doesn't even look like me, but people remember it being me.
But yeah, I think it's really important to be self-sufficient. Like you were saying, like if you have a basketball hoop, you get those reps in. It's like the same thing with the music. If you have your own studio, you get your reps in. It also helps a lot too, because if you're getting those ideas and then you hit up the studio and they're like, oh, we don't have any availability till like 2 days later, you might forget that idea and not even get it recorded. So like I think it really helps to have your own studio to get your ideas down, be able to like mess around with it. Just learn more about the music and be able to like record songs when you want to and just be able to like get through that creative process without having to rely on the studio.
And you save money because a lot of people go to the studios and they make some songs and they never come out. It was just kind of like, I just wanted to have fun in the studio. Well, if the studio's in your house, you can just have fun whenever you want.
And then you're also mentioning that like if you go to a studio, most of your songs are going to be flops, so you're better off just recording at home and saving money that way.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like I've gone to a lot of big studios, a lot of small studios, and I it's crazy. So many people come up to me and they'll hear one of my songs and be like, "Man, I know you recorded this studio. I mean, this song." And they'll see a picture of me in a big studio and they'll be like, "That's the studio you probably did that song at." And I'm sitting here like, man, if you knew like my biggest songs, and I kid you not, like husband or wife, the song I have, I would say that's probably my biggest song successfully overall. I recorded that song with a CO1 Samsung $50 mic, and my pop filter was actually a clothes hanger with a nylon. It was like a homemade pop filter, and that's it. And I had Logitech computer speakers and an E-machine computer with a blaster sound card. And I'll never forget that. That was like I recorded it, mixed it myself. I gave it like on Cool Edit Pro, and that ended up being one of my biggest songs. And I'm just sitting here like, this is crazy. I mean, I got it mixed later when we did the remix at John Chase's studio and actually a couple different studios and got it mastered. But it's just crazy that it was the original version that blew up first, and that wasn't a professional studio.
Yeah, because I'm always hearing about like how some big artists like record other artists. Like I heard of the story about like how Charlie Puth records Selena Gomez in like his hotel closet or something, and like how T Pain, I forget what song it was, but he had like this really like not like super crazy expensive setup for one of his songs. I forget which one it was, but he posted on his Instagram.
Yeah, if you watch a lot of these documentaries, you can see like the Travis Scott documentary when he gets his verse from Drake and stuff like that. They're recording in a kitchen with a Sony. It's an expensive mic, but they're literally recording in like an Airbnb kitchen or the living room. Or Cardi B, I know I forgot where I saw it, but they were either in an Airbnb or a hotel, and they put the mattress up and the mic, it's like the people you're just setting up wherever you catch a vibe, you're setting up, and you try to put things in the way so that the sound stays in. But yeah, I think it's creative. I think it's fun to kind of run around and do stuff like that.
I think one of the biggest things is to like understand, like you were saying, like there's no rules to it, to just like have fun and be creative. And like at the end of the day, like I feel like for me at least, I just try to do the music for me and not worry about like all the other noise, I guess.
Yeah, and that's also important, but there's so much there's so much to music that you need to worry a little bit about the other side, or you need someone who worries about it, cuz a lot of people wake up and they make a good song and they expect throwing it on SoundCloud or throwing it on Apple Music that's it. It's going to go. And it has potential to go, but there's more to it than that. And you can't expect it to just blow up, and that's what most people do, and it's actually very frustrating.
Yeah, it's true. Like I know like a lot of artists, especially like I used to intern at GFM Modern Recording Studios. It's like a smaller studio in Blue Springs. I always see the artists like come in, they like release a song and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna blow up," but then they don't do anything with it. And it gets like a couple plays, and then they're like, "Oh, it didn't work. Let me go record another song." And then it's like, let's record another song. And they don't like change the process of how they're releasing songs. They just expect to like toss it on the internet and hope they get some views. So it's like that's kind of how I saw where some artists didn't understand the business side, and they just kind of like threw things out there and hope they got like people listening to it.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because I notice like a lot of people they get mad instead of patient and understand. They'll get mad at a DJ and be like, "You never play my songs." I mean, why should he play your songs? You get mad at a family member or friend. You never play my songs. Like there's even a lot of filters on Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok that says things like, "Oh, you never support my craft" or something. That's why I haven't blown up yet. Like I hate those things. I really do, because it's like you shouldn't have to ask someone to play your stuff. That's just how I feel. I've always felt like I'm not asking people to play my stuff. I'm just interacting with people organically, and just when you interact with people organically, they'll pay attention to you. They'll look at your page. They'll ask you, "Hey, what are you doing? What is that? Are you a rapper? Oh, you're an artist? Oh." But it's just the patience of being around those situations that people don't have. People these days, they everything's microwave. They want microwave success. They want microwave everything, and it's not realistic. But most people don't realize that.
Yeah, I think it's mostly because like you see like these new artists that seemingly come out of nowhere and they like blow up because of TikTok or like these other things. It seems like they get success overnight. Can you explain to people like that's not exactly like what it seems?
Well, it's crazy because people think that these people blow up overnight, and they don't. They like, for example, I had a friend that he was on. He came. Well, I didn't know him, but shout out to Love the Sanders or Saunders. I always say it wrong. I don't know which one it is. But they came to the studio, and he's an older dude. He has a family. One, two. I want to say it's like 5 kids or 4 kids. 3 girls, 2 boys, and he has a wife. It's a good family. They're very supportive. He came to the studio and he wanted to make music. And at first, I thought it was his daughter that was making music, because he came with his daughter. And we're talking, and she's like so supportive of him wanting to be an artist, but he's older, you know? And I'm just thinking, like, man, it's like my dad trying to do music. But they were so serious. So, I go into my mode and I tell him, all right, well, I start hitting him with the reality of it. And I'm like, okay, he's not a kid. So I'm talking to him the way I talk to everybody. But I know it's resonating because he's older. So I told him, I'm like, look, if you want to be a successful artist, you have to be consistent. And then I told them, if you want to build a fan base, TikTok right now is hot. I told him. And I'm like, I can guarantee you that if you go home and you and your family post every day, at least once a day, you will start having a fan base in no time, right? I told this man that I didn't know what he was about to do. They went home and they went in. They literally posted once a day, and I remember I went to LA and I'm showing my friends. Yeah, just told this dude to sign up, and I'm like, I just told him to sign up, and he already got 10,000 followers. I was trying to inspire my friend. When I go to the page, I'm like, 100,000 followers. It jumped from 10,000 to 100,000. So then a couple weeks later, I'm inspiring someone else. Like, yo, man, it's not hard. You just got to be consistent. Look at my dude here. I spoke to him not too long ago, and he already got 100,000. I look, it's 250,000 already. And the same thing happened again. And I go to my other friend. I'm like, yeah, because you just got to be consistent. Look at my, now it's 600,000. And eventually it got to 1,000,000. And I'm just like, I was amazed, even though I told them that would happen. And I try to explain to people that that's what it takes for your music to blow up. It takes that level of consistency. I forgot the actual question that you asked me because I kind of went down this rabbit hole.
Right, yeah, that's like I really like that answer, but I forgot what the question was too.
I forgot.
But what I really want to know is like, if you're posting every day on TikTok as an artist, what kind of content do you think you should be posting?
Well, here's the thing: it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like these days, people just want to get to know you. People want to know who you are. Like, for example, like you like Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so does my friend. You guys were singing the theme song to me. I didn't know that you guys both knew the theme song.
Yeah.
But there was a moment there where you both were like, oh, yeah. You see what I'm saying? You guys related in that moment.
Yeah.
Now, you don't really watch football the way we do, but me and him relate with football.
Yeah.
Like, so there's always parallels with all people. Like you might like sushi, and you eat sushi every week. I don't,
Yeah.
but you might like Marvel movies.
Yeah.
So when it's sushi time, I might not hang out with you, but when it's Marvel movie time, I might go Marvel with you.
Yeah.
Let's go see this movie or whatever. It's the same thing with music. People, oh, I don't really rock with him because he talks about this, or I don't rock with him because he makes dancehall music, or I don't rock with him because he does this. But, oh, I like him because he does this, or I like him because he supports this. There's so many different elements of the world
Yeah.
that you don't know what someone's threshold is. I realize that life is, especially in the music world, it's a game of thresholds. Because there was so many people that hated on me and hated me, and it was because they didn't understand something about me. Like there was this one dude, he didn't like me at all, because he didn't understand why I wasn't a Celtics fan, because I grew up in like 45 minutes north of Boston.
Yeah.
He didn't understand why I wasn't a Celtics fan, why I wasn't a Red Sox fan, why I wasn't a Bruins fan. I was always rooting for whoever they were playing against.
Yeah.
So when it was Red Sox versus Yankees, I root for the Yankees. When it was his New England Patriots against the Giants, I root for the Giants. And I didn't know this guy per se, but he would we didn't really know each other. I know him better now. But he would oh, I don't really like Knowledge. And it's like, because we spoke about this. And long story short, that's why he didn't like me, because he felt like I just hated the city of Boston. So when we finally found ourselves in a position where we can talk and have a conversation, and we were in the same room together, he asked me straight up, like, yo, what's your beef with Boston? Or you think you're too cool? You think you're better than everybody because you're Knowledge? And I'm sitting here like, where's this coming from? I don't know. So I gave him my backstory. He's like, you were born and raised here. And I was like, hold on, I wasn't born and raised here. And he thought I was born and raised there like everybody thinks I was born and raised there, but I wasn't. I was born in Oceanside, California, on a whole other coast. But I don't remember it because we moved from there to New York. From New York, we now moved to Lawrence, where I was pretty much raised. So for me, growing up, I would feel some type of way when people would be like, yeah, because I was born in Lawrence General Hospital. Oh, me too. Not me. I was born in Methuen Hospital. Oh, I was born there. I didn't relate to anybody because they're talking about all these local hospitals, not me. So I kind of grew up not feeling like, okay, this ain't my team. This ain't my city. I haven't seen my city yet. I was young. I didn't understand the concept of sports. And I just knew that I wasn't born here. And when I explained that to him, he's like, yo, that makes sense. I get it now.
Yeah.
And that was his threshold. His threshold was, now he understands.
Yeah.
Then there's other people, they see me in a nice car. Now we're friends. I hit the threshold.
Yeah.
They see me with nice sneakers. I hit their threshold. They see me hit a basketball shot. I hit their threshold. They find out I play poker. I hit their threshold. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Everybody has a threshold. And when you meet their threshold, they'll be like, oh, you're pretty cool. Okay, cool. And some people's thresholds are bad. They're not always good ones. Someone might have to see you knock someone out. Someone might have to see you do drugs or drink alcohol or something. I'm not saying that they're all good, but when people see certain things, then they become a fan of you, which is why I tell people, post everything. Post your food. Post the sneakers. Post the music part you like. Post the movie that you like. It's like, and it's weird because people like to be private these days. But if you're trying to make it in the music industry, a lot of it's not private. It's not. It's kind of tough.
So, when you post all these other things that are outside of music, do you think that helps build an audience that will eventually listen to your music?
Yes and no. See, that's the thing. I'm never trying to build an audience that's gonna listen to my music. I'm just trying to build a network.
That makes sense.
I don't go into it trying to build like, oh yeah, he's gonna listen to music. He's gonna listen to No, I'm trying to build a network. You know why? Because a network will bring you everything. Let's say me and you are cool because Pokemon. And I never spoke to you about rap. I never
Yeah.
told you I was Knowledge. I never told you I did music. You just thought I was a really cool dude because I have all the coolest Pokemons and we share some stories and we're equivalent, right?
Yeah.
And you meet some girl and she got a sister. And then I come along. You might be like, oh, this is Knowledge, man. It's really cool, man. He's a nice guy, man. Blah, blah, blah. Now, you just introduced me to her.
Yeah.
Now, when I talk to her, she might be like, oh, yeah, I'm a singer. And I'll be like, oh, shoot. Well, I do music, too.
Yeah.
And now she's going to go down that rabbit hole of, oh, you do music. Next time you see her, she's going to go to you. Yo, you know, he raps. He does music. He got a song with Rick Ross and Rick Montana and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, what the heck? I didn't know that. It's like, hey, I didn't know you had. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like to do it. I like to let it be organic.
Okay.
I don't try to force feed it because when you try to force feed it, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, yo, listen to my shit. It's like, no.
It turns people off.
Yeah, I'll listen when I want to listen. Like, you're not gonna force me. But if you create a network, that network brings you all sorts of things. Sometimes that person that you just met that you least expected, it's them that's gonna get you to the right person.
I have a pretty funny story. So like my dad and I went to buy a treadmill. I think it was off of like Craigslist. And the lady was like, oh yeah, I have this friend that does like all these big shows. Like he's I forget what you call it. It's like the people who put together like the shows for like artists. But he's like in Nashville and he's doing the shows for like all these big country artists. I think right now he's doing what's his name? I think he does like big country artists. So like I know he did the band Perry and like
in Kansas City.
No, he's in Nashville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like he's traveling, does the tours and stuff, and then she was like, and then we were talking about Tech Nine, like the big Kansas City rapper, and then they were talking about like, oh yeah, I knew like Travis, who's the big CEO at Strange Music, who's like Tech Nine's in business with. And he's like, oh yeah, I met his wife at like the nail salon and stuff like that. So it's like. So I can see like what you're saying about like the networks are like really important because you don't know who you're gonna meet, and how you're gonna connect with people.
Yeah, and you don't know who. You don't know who's who. You don't know who becomes who. It's kind of crazy. It really is.
Yeah, because I'm always like, maybe I'm just weird, but I'm always like, oh, I want to see where everyone is from my high school in 10 years and look them up on my yearbook later. It's like, I wonder if I'm gonna go to school with someone famous.
I think we all secretly do that. I haven't done it in a while, but I used to always look up. I wonder how they're doing.
Yeah, it's like, oh snap. It's like, I always see those like, you know, like how you see those TikToks and like they're like, I went to school with blah blah blah, and now they're this person or whatever. So yeah, it's always pretty interesting. But is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I mean, if you got any other questions, you can shoot them at me. I'm just trying to. I'm just thinking about the network stuff that we were talking about.
Yeah. So like, I hear a lot of people talk about Bandcamp. What's your opinion on Bandcamp?
To be honest, I've never used Bandcamp. I'm starting to see it more like you know, you can log in through things like log in through Google, log in through Facebook. I'm starting to see Bandcamp more. It's like, oh, use your Bandcamp. So I've never used it. I've never got into it. I don't know anything about it. I don't know why. I just feel like when I've seen it, it just feels cheesy. I don't know. It just feels kind of cheesy. Like I could be wrong though, but it's not for me. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But I haven't even used it yet, so I don't even know if that's true.
Okay. Yeah. So right now, do you think artists should just be like on all social medias? Like I know you said TikTok's pretty big, but like, is there other social medias artists should be on?
To be honest, I tell everybody they should make every social media. And the reason is because someone might look for you there. So like having a TikTok and a Twitter, let's say you have a Twitter, for example. Make a Twitter, and if you don't use it, write on your bio, I don't use my Twitter often, and put a link tree with all your social medias there, or put the link to your Instagram or the platform that you do use, because now you're making it easier for people to find you. When you don't do that, you give the power to someone else to make a fake account of you.
That makes sense.
So I tell people, yo, just make it. And if you're not going to use it, just write, hey, I don't use it. You literally have a bio to describe who you are, what you're doing. It's like, I don't use this page much. Hit me up on one of these. And then you put your link tree. Or hit me up on Instagram. I use my Instagram. You put your Instagram. At least now when they find you, they know where to find you. It's like when you go to a business that changed addresses, but you go to the old business. 9 out of 10 times, if it's a smart businessman or a smarter situation, there's gonna be some type of sign that says, "Hey, we changed locations. Here's the new address," or go to this website for the new address. It's like that same concept.
So how important do you think it is to like choose a good artist's name?
I'm the wrong person to ask that. Because I don't care. I really. My first name was Flame, and my boy was Lighter. We were literally in shop class, and we made a song freestyle and playing around. It's like someone said, "Yo, what's you guys' rap name?" I looked at this cabinet in collision repair shop, and it said Flammable Materials, and I seen someone playing with a lighter. So I told my boys, like, yo, you're Lighter, I'm Flame, we're HM, Hot Materials. That was my first name. So then my second name was Dio. I was in my room and I was like, yo, I had battled someone and they almost beat me because they were roasting my name. So I'm in my room, I was like, I need a new name. And every time I turned my radio on, it wouldn't play in aux mode. It would just say video. And it would irritate me because I didn't have a TV hooked up to my radio. But then the word V and I on video started fading. So it said Dio. And I was like, that's a sign. My name should be Dio. So my name was Dio for like a little bit. And then I battled someone and I like did really good. And someone came up to me and said, "What's your name? You killed that." And I was like, "Oh God, I can't say Dio. I can't say." And I was like, "Knowledge." And they're like, "Oh, I like that." Now, where Knowledge came from, back in the days, I used to be on the chat line. I don't even know if your generation even knows about that.
No.
We used to have chat lines back in the day. So before, like, this is around mihente.com, but before, like, AIM, around the time AIM was a thing or before it, I don't even know if you know about AIM.
AOL, Instant Messenger.
Yeah. So around the time that was how before that, there was this thing called the chat line. And what you would do is you'd call this 1-800 number or a local area code number, and you're now on the chat line, but you've got the Boston Donut, and you can go on the message board and leave a message and be like, yo, sexy Moniqua 39, hit me up. Or you go into one of these rooms and you're just talking to strangers, straight up local strangers, lying like a motherfucker, be like, yeah, I'm 5'11", 200 whatever pounds, 100 whatever. You know, you're just kicking it with people talking. And there was this group of people that I was talking with, and they all had cool names. It was like Luciano, Gambino. It's like all mobster names. And I guess everything we spoke about, I would say something useful. I something that made sense, but I wouldn't talk much. But when I did, it made sense. So one of them's like, we're going to call you Knowledge. So I had that name for a while on the chat line. I had it for a long time on the chat line. And then in that moment when I had done good in the battle and this guy and girl come up to me and they're like, yo, what's your name? I just acknowledge. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, I guess I'm keeping knowledge. So for me, it's not important, but I feel like it is important. I did spell it different. I spelled it Nawlage for the sake of I didn't want to run into SEO issues or searching issues by spelling it the same way, and I don't like the way a K looks. My K looks horrible when I draw.
Yeah, because my cousin told me to like Google a name, and if there's like so many other people using it, or if it's like common with like other websites or something, try to pick something that's like not searchable on Google, so it's easier to rank when people search you.
Yeah, 100% right. That's exactly why I changed the knowledge to the NAW. So it's not like KNO or NO. Most knowledges I was seeing was KNOW or NOWLEDGE. So I changed NAWLAGE just to be different, so other things wouldn't pop up.
So you're doing a lot of shows now, like in the Boston area.
Yeah, like New York, Boston, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Rhode Island.
So what are your plans for like your music career in the future? I know like you're working on an album. Is there anything else you want people to know about?
We've got a lot of things coming out. It's like it's a surprise.
Ooh, you hear it here first. It's a surprise.
I don't really like telling people what I got coming out. Like I kind of like just doing stuff in case I change my mind a lot about things and when to do them and stuff. So I kind of just go with the flow and then just go. But when I know it's coming, I'll know it's coming and I'll start, talking about it more. But yeah, I'm just out here getting active and just realizing like I have a music career and I can't just ignore it like I always wanted to do.
You have a lot of power. For sure. Because when I listen to your music, I'm like, man, I need to wait for Nawlage to come out with more songs. I'm like on the hook now.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm always playing your songs when I'm in the shower.
Along with your Katy Perry playlist?
Yeah, my Katy Perry playlist. But yeah, I think that's all the questions I have. If you have any other tips you want to give in the last minute, I think we're about to wrap up here. I'm getting hungry for breakfast.
No, I appreciate you and coming out here and interviewing me. I appreciate what you're doing, what you're trying to do. And no, just like I said, consistency is your best friend with whatever you're trying to do. It doesn't matter what it is. Just be consistent and you will succeed. That pretty much sums it up.
For sure. Well, I appreciate you coming onto the podcast, even though this is only the 3rd episode. I'm hoping to get more people on eventually.
Hey, consistency.
For sure. So I'll be working on that. And I got to get my butt on TikTok. This was super inspiring. Now I got to build a fan base on TikTok. But yeah, that's it for me. This is Jay Nabe with Nawlage. This is episode number 3 of the Careers of Your Peers. And yeah. I'm going to try to get some breakfast now, and I'll see you guys on the next podcast.
Peace.
2K5.